There's a lot of speculation about Joe Biden's health, so I want to address that today. Is this real or is this propaganda? I have a real answer for you.
Hello, Owen. This is Ron from Tennessee. Like to say, I love what you're doing and everything. I learn something new every day when I watch your show. But I want to get to the debate between Biden and Trump.
The debate, yeah.
think Biden's a whole lot better than Trump, but people on the Democratic side keep, putting Biden down. I was wondering, how do you think the debate went? Thank you very much, man, and please take care of yourself and your family. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Regular caller. Call back in. And anybody else can call in too. 1-800-701-8573. In 2016, NBC News published this article, Hillary Clinton's Health Scare, 9 Unanswered Questions. Hillary Clinton tripped while getting into her car or something. Like her foot bumped into the curb. She didn't fall or anything. Her foot just bumped the curb. And then we get articles like this. All over the place. Like wallpaper. This is NBC News, okay? This is supposed to be like a trustworthy news website right here. As Hillary Clinton's health moves from the fringes to the center of the 2016 presidential campaign, there's a lot we still don't know about her scare this weekend. The scare, bumping her foot into the curb. Now, how does this compare to Biden, who could barely pick up any words? He couldn't think of anything. I don't believe that Biden had a bad debate night. I don't think he did. I think he had one bad moment where he couldn't come up with a word. And I'm chalking that up to the fact that he's had a stutter since he's little. The fact that he's 80, yeah, maybe he's had a little bit of slowdown. And the fact that he's on a debate stage with somebody and democracy is resting on his shoulders right now. After that moment, Biden did just fine. I didn't catch a single example of Biden having a cognitive problem or anything past one moment where he slipped up and couldn't remember a word. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the same as Hillary Clinton bumping her foot on a curb. Does that justify CNN's coverage of this? Since the debate happened, Donald Trump had an assassination attempt against his life, so CNN has switched subjects. But when this debate happened originally, within 2 weeks, it was wall to wall on CNN. It was nothing but Biden should drop out. Is Biden cognitively okay? Biden is sick. Biden can't do this. Biden needs to be replaced. Over and over and over. That's all they talked about on CNN. That might be because CNN is now owned by a billionaire who's a Trump supporter, and it's moving slowly toward the right. It has been for a while now. Anyway, no matter what you think about it, this is a propaganda campaign against Biden. No matter what. Is the campaign justified, or is it based on a grain of truth? I don't believe so. You even get articles like this on AP News. Biden at 81, often sharp and focused, but sometimes confused and forgetful. Okay, that's kind of a propagandistic name for an article, but all right, let's read it. This is so sad, too, because this is AP News. I trust AP News generally. See if we can pick out any problems here. Joe Biden's conduct behind closed doors in the Oval Office on Air Force One and in the meetings around the world is described in the same dual way by those who regularly see him in action. Who? Who are these people who regularly see him in action who are describing it this way? Do you have a source? Could you even tell me that it's an anonymous source? I'll take anything at all. No, they're using weasel words. They're appealing to some authority, some ambiguous source out there that they don't even attempt to name. Weasel words. This does not belong in a news article, ever. This article is a failure on the part of AP News. And it would be if it was Donald Trump, too, if they framed it like that for Trump. That's not even the worst part. Like, it goes on and it gets even worse than that. This article does. He's often sharp and focused, but he also has moments, particularly later in the evening, when his thoughts seem jumbled and he trails off mid-sentence or seems confused. How do they know that he's often sharp and focused? Who told them that? Who told them that he trails off in the evening, like sundowning as you get with dementia? Who told him? For the record, Biden and Trump, neither of them have Alzheimer's disease, okay? Neither of them. Or most forms of dementia. I don't know of any form of dementia that lasts this long. With Alzheimer's disease, for example, it comes in 3 stages. Stage 1, you walk into a room and you forget why you entered. You can't find your keys anywhere. You're forgetting everything. You know, sometimes you can't pick out that name. That lasts 2 years. Stage 2, you now have moments of lucidity where sometimes you remember people and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you remember your own kid, sometimes not. You're living in the past. Sometimes you believe that you're like 27 and you're acting as though the people around you are the ones that were around you when you were 27 years old. That's 2 more years, okay? We're up to 4 years, and that's impossible to hide at that point. Stage 3, years 4 to 6, is where you are laying in bed having diapers changed because you're completely gone. You have no idea where you are or what's happening or who these people are around you or anything. So Biden and Donald Trump have 4 years, honestly, really 2 or 3 years before it's noticeable and obvious and can't be hidden anymore. Biden could not, neither could Trump, neither could go out on a stage if they were in stage 2 or even probably in late stage 1. Couldn't do it. Neither of them have Alzheimer's disease or dementia. This is just another Hillary Clinton thing. She was healthy then. She's healthy now. Biden is healthy. Okay? I don't want to hear any of this nonsense about Biden is too demented to function or whatever. Oh, and one more thing on this subject since I'm talking about it. Presidents don't run the country. They've never run the country since day one. Okay? You know who runs the country? The people who they tell to run the country. Their aides. The Joint Chiefs of Staff. The military commanders. The president is there to tell people what to do, and everybody else runs it. Is Biden capable of making a decision? Yes. As a matter of fact, like his decisions and Trump's and FDR's and whoever, Thomas Jefferson's, their decisions weren't even made like by them most of the time. The decisions were written up in like a daily brief, and you're given us a set of options, like 3 options. They say, pick one. Okay, Afghanistan is harboring Osama bin Laden, and we know where he is. Decision A, we go in guns blazing. If you do this, you're going to kill some kids. Decision B, leave him alone. He's irrelevant now. Decision C, send in a tactical strike force. Now pick one, A, B, or C. Which is it going to be? That's what the president does. He picks A, B, or C. Because his advisors know way more about these subjects than he does, than I do, than anybody does. Okay, the president could call up an expert in any field, quantum mechanics, and sit down in the floor, cross-legged, with your hands clasped, eating an applesauce or something, while this expert in the world, the best expert in the world on this subject, explains it to you, how this works. Presidents don't need to be able to, like, lift, deadlift 80 pounds or something. They don't need to do that. They don't need split-second decision-making, like driving a car or something. They don't need to. They have people to do split-second stuff for them and draw up lists. They have 5 minutes to think about their next move. Biden's fine. He's perfectly capable of running the country, is my point here. Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I just want to say I'd appreciate it if you check my Patreon. OwenMorgan.com/Patreon to find it. YouTube's algorithm goes up and down, so I can never predict where it's going to be. Having patrons gives me some level of stability. Okay, back to the video. In my opinion, this is all propaganda to help Trump and to hurt Biden. That's simple. Tell me what you think about it. It wasn't just the debate, though. The press conference was a disaster. I don't remember I'm not sure which press conference. I mean, that could be, but let me tell you this. He's not demented. If he were demented, he wouldn't be able to remember certain things. He would revert back to a certain age. Like, he'd revert back to when he's 30 or something. They would never, ever dare put somebody who was demented in front of a crowd. It would be impossible to hide if they did that. And dementia is, as I'm sure Jen has cookies knows, a brutal disease. Brutal. I'm lucky that I've never had to deal with it one-on-one personally yet. But as they say, best case scenario, you're going to live to see every friend and family member you ever knew die, right? That's how it's going to be, so sorry. Hopefully, hopefully I don't have to deal with dementia specifically because it's so brutal. I can cherry pick a billion examples of Donald Trump being completely out of his head. But can the guy sit down and have a long-form conversation, recall people's names, recall certain events, and give specific answers that are relevant to the topic at hand? The answer is yes, Donald Trump can do that, and so can Biden. We can watch both of them live. They both do rallies. So I'm sure, yeah, Donald Trump has the odd moment here or there where he slips up on a word. The United States of America. Yeah, he says that stuff all the time. But is this the kind of thing where it's like impossible for him to function on a day-to-day basis? It's impossible for him to sit down and have this conversation? No, that's not the case for Trump or Biden. His staff released that info about him being okay between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Oh, perfect. Those are working hours. Yeah, I get beat to shit after those hours too. Why do you think I start my streams at 10:30? It's not daytime before 10:30. When they say okay between the hours of 10 and 4, I'm not sure what that means. What did they mean by that? Did they mean that he's completely out of his head, demented, incapable of processing conversations after 4 p.m.? Or does it just mean he starts getting worn down and he needs to take a break? I'm not sure what that means. My mom has dementia. Biden doesn't have dementia, but he has cognitive decline. Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm sure Biden and Trump both have the same cognitive decline that anybody that age would have. But Biden is still sharp as a tack, still capable of recalling information that's relevant to the conversation, still rides his bike around and shit. And on top of all of that, Biden fell on his bike and was fine. That should say something about him. Okay, he fell on his bike. You remember that a while back? And he turned out just fine. Anyway, either way, I mean, I'm sure that basically everybody watching here is going to vote for Biden anyway, so it doesn't really matter. There's definitely a propaganda campaign running right now against Biden. That's my point. Not working hours for a president. A president works 24 hours a day. His staff leaked that he was confused after 4 p.m., and he said the George Stephanopoulos interview that his staff talks too much. He didn't deny it. Okay, I don't know. That's a little shaky. My staff talks too much is kind of an old-timey way of saying they're full of it. And you know Joe Biden with old-timey sayings like malarkey and alley cat. Morals of an alley cat. Still disagree with you. Okay, that's okay. Can't convince everybody. I hope that we can just meet on this one. There is a propaganda campaign running against him on this subject from Fox News, at the very least. I hope that we can agree on that. And that the things that we hear about it, we should accept it with skepticism because of that. I don't think it's propaganda. I think it's true. CNN says the same thing. Even if it's true, it's still a propaganda campaign. Things can still be true and framed like propaganda. Like, propaganda is the framing device, true or not. Let me put it this way. Israel attacking Palestine is wrong, disgusting, evil. It's a genocide, and I'm sure that we can agree there, right? But there is pro-Palestine propaganda, and there's pro-Israel propaganda. It doesn't mean it's true or false. Here, let me show you, since we're talking about propaganda, there's this subreddit called r/propaganda posters. Let's just kind of glance through some of the propaganda posters because I think some of them are fascinating. Here's a good one. This was a cartoon that was drawn in New York City. What was it? The New Yorker cartoonist Danny Shanahan in 2012 drew this. It's a Muslim woman in a burqa standing over a subway vent like Marilyn Monroe, and the skirt is blowing up, and you can see dynamite sticks around her. Have Muslims strapped dynamite sticks around themselves and blown themselves up? Yes, that is true. That's factual. Do Muslims wear burqas? Yes, they do. Everything in this is true, but it's framed in a propagandistic way to give a very specific feel, like a look and feel, to give you certain ideas and feelings and thoughts about this subject. Here's another propaganda poster. This ruined Europe. Never let it happen over here. Where is this one from? This is American poster by Chester Raymond Miller / Kelly Reed and Company for Think American Institute, U.S. 1943. There's a knife being shoved between two gears that say labor and management. So the idea is that labor should just work with management. They should just cooperate with management, shut their mouths, accept their pay, and move on. And it's true that there is disunity between labor and management in Europe. That's a factual statement. But that's a good thing, because big corporations are trying to milk everything they can out of their labor force for as little money as humanly possible. This is like an anti-union poster kind of thing, you know? Anyway, that's the way I see the Biden thing. It can be propagandistic and true simultaneously. Here, you should obey the fishing laws. That's factual. Fishing laws are there for a reason. Obey the fishing laws. This means you. This is propaganda. This is a propaganda poster. With peace and love, if you only saw the debate and not the press conference or those two interviews I mentioned, how can you form an informed opinion? Because I see all kinds of other things from him. I didn't only see the debate. And just because I didn't see two specific things that you mentioned doesn't mean I saw nothing. Anyway, yeah, tell me what you think about it.
Hi, Owen. This is Sarah from Wisconsin. I just had an interesting question that I wanted to bring up with you. If all right-wing QAnon extremists and all of them, just as a whole, were to suddenly have a moment of clarity and realize that they've been lied to this entire time, what do you think would be the results of that? Just, not based off of necessarily evidence, but based off of just intuition and patterns that you see. Anyway, love what you do. Keep up the good work. Have a good one. Bye.
I appreciate that. Well, it depends on what you mean, or let me rephrase. It depends on the level to which they realize that they're being lied to. Like, I'm being lied to. You're being lied to. Everybody's being lied to at all times. That's just like the nature of society, right? The Democrats are lying to us about this thing or that thing. Republicans lying about this or that. So when you say that, do you mean the QAnoners realize that they're being lied to about everything? If so, they would likely drop political parties, but only ever vote for Democrats moving forward because the Republicans wronged them so egregiously. When I left Jehovah's Witnesses behind, I was so disgusted and repulsed by what they did to me, by the lies that they told me, that I went as far in the other direction as I possibly could. Even though a lot of other people are lied to on a daily basis about similar things and to similar degrees, even though others were lying to me about different things, I was so invested in this thing. I believed it so deeply that lie cut me down to the soul, and I was done. So I believe that if QAnon just woke up like that and realized, oh, this is all nonsense, they would probably become Democrats, if for no other reason than because they want to go the exact opposite direction of where they were before. Like when I was in college, this is when I first started to realize what was going on, I used to watch Dusty Smith back in the day, Cult of Dusty, and he sold shirts that said, "He's not coming back, get over it." And it was a picture of Jesus on the cross. And I wore that shit into my class. My professor was like, an evangelical believer and really upset with it. But I was just so sick of it. I was so infuriated by what had just happened to me that I wanted to make a clear point. That's what would happen probably. And Democrats would never lose again. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. It's like a long, drawn-out process to get somebody to kind of come out of this stupor. I mean, atheists have been working at destroying the lies that extremist religions tell for who knows how long. And we've only claimed about 6% of the United States population. A total of 30% have just walked away from religion entirely at this point, roughly. But this has been an ongoing thing for like decades, nay, centuries. So QAnon is here to stay, in my opinion. And we just have to pick them off one by by talking to them, by reasoning with them. That's the only way to do it. Is QAnon still a thing? Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it's getting bigger again. So with viral things, it goes in waves like this. I don't know why it works that way. It just does. With real life viruses and with internet trends, let me show you. When you get a bigger wave, the peak determines where the next base is going to be. So it goes up and then it peaks and then it goes down and dips and then it goes up higher than before. It's on an upward trend with viruses and with internet stuff, basically. Unless that thing is not producing anything anymore. Unless nobody is invested in it anymore. Like the Hawk Tuah girl, you know? She's going to fade into obscurity in a year, max. She does not have long. Unless she tries to ride that fame into something bigger. Like if she has a reality TV show, she will never reach that peak that she was at previously. Because that was like her golden moment. But it'll keep going. Let me show you just an example. Let's look at... this is Social Blade. If you don't know Social Blade, it's an analytics system for like YouTube and Twitter. And let me just look at somebody random. See, you can see that it kind of goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Interesting. He's been in a dip here for a while. I wonder what that's about. I've also been in a dip for a while. If you expand this out even further, which I don't think you can in this, well, this is kind of okay, but you can see it goes up and down, up and down. That's just the nature of viral trends. This is how it works. Anyway, QAnon goes into dips regularly and then peaks and dips and peaks and dips. It reached its peak in 2017, and that's probably the highest it will ever be. But like Flat Earth, it will never be completely gone. Like, we can go to Google Trends and look this stuff up. Hang on, let me show you. Let's just search for, you can search for anything. Let's search for Flat Earth. Okay, hang on. Past 12 months, Flat Earth. Okay, we can see a trend line here, and we can see that there was a big jump on April 7th to 13th. I'm not sure what happened on that day. I don't remember. But let's look at the past 5 years, okay? See, there's a big peak and dip and peak and dip. I don't know what happened right here on February 23rd, 2020. I guess this is when COVID hit. And people were probably bored as sin sitting in their homes and decided to look up Flat Earth. Let's check QAnon. Let's compare Flat Earth to QAnon on Google Trends. Wow, check that out. So QAnon's peak was January 10th, 2021. And before that, there was an even bigger peak, August 16th, 2020. But it hit a pretty big peak March 15th, 2020. Fascinating. See if we can do 2004 to present. Yeah, see, 2018 right here. August 2018. That's when it really started exploding. I had no idea that it blew up that big in January 2021. Look at this. Flat Earth was exploding February 2017 also. Is that the result of Donald Trump getting into office, I wonder? Well, you can check worldwide, too. Let's check worldwide. Let's check Afghanistan. There's one guy searching QAnon in Afghanistan. That one dude. Anyway, yeah. So the point is that QAnon is in a peak right now. It may not be a very big peak, but it is peaking. Hold on. See, it looks like it's going up right now. You can see it. It had another peak in November 2023. It had a pretty decently large peak. Yeah, I don't believe it'll ever go away. I wonder if I'm on here and how I compare to QAnon. Oh, look, I got a little bump right here. There's a little bump, a little Owen Morgan-sized bump right here. How about that? 1 to QAnon's 20. I'm 1/20th the size of QAnon. I'll take it. I'll take anything. Hell, I'm glad for it. Check just the United States. Does that change anything? Yes! Oh my god, in the US, it's 1 to 17. I will take that. Although there is one other Owen Morgan. He's an actor, so I may be leeching off his success here. I don't know. Let's get rid of QAnon. Just erase it. When was I most famous? I was most famous November 2023, apparently. Maybe that's because QAnon was most famous at the time. Let's do 2004 to present. Wait. I started doing YouTube in Well, I came out with my name in like 2018, so these bumps right here are probably me. Boom, boom, boom. These are likely me, the big bumps. Let's see what's going on with Telltale Atheist. Oh, look, I got a little tiny one right here. All right. I'll take that. I'll take it. Whatever I can get, I'll take it. It's a cute bump. I'll take that, right? Wow, this is a really big bump. May 2006. I wasn't operating in 06. Did somebody steal my name in 06? Yeah, no one is searching for Telltale Owen Morgan. Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing. I don't believe that QAnon will ever fully go away.
Hi, Owen. This is Sammy from North Carolina, and I had a question. Feel free to answer if I'm just bad at wording this. But if the Watchtower organization wasn't really the main be-all, end-all for the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses throughout the country, if it was just a regular religion like any Protestant or Catholic churches in the area, do you think the Jehovah's Witnesses would have as much flack or baggage attached to them if it wasn't for the reigning governing body of elders and the organization itself? It was just a regular religion. Do you think that Jehovah's Witnesses would be in the state they are today? It would be interesting hearing your thoughts. I have never been a witness. I have had interactions with them. But from an outside perspective, I really think that if they were just a standard religious practice without the Watchtower organization behind them, I don't think that you could classify it as a cult. But again, I don't know. So I'd really love to hear your thoughts about it.
Let me lay this out for you. Follow my analogy for a second. With viruses like COVID, for example, or Ebola, its ability to spread is hampered or bolstered by how deadly it is. So Ebola isn't a worldwide pandemic that's killing 90% of the world's population right now, because when it gets into a person, it kills that person way too quickly, like too soon for it to transmit to another person. COVID was in a kind of a Goldilocks zone where it was the perfect amount of not quite deadly enough to kill everybody, but extremely contagious. So it spread to like a ton of people throughout the world. And despite the fact that it only has a death rate of, 1% or something, it killed millions and millions of people. Where Ebola has a death rate of 90%, but it doesn't kill that many people every year, I don't think. With religions, there is a similar phenomenon happening. When there's a deeper buy-in, when there's a deeper, a more expensive social cost for being a member, they're not going to bring in as many people, but the ones that they do bring in are going to be loyal to the death. So with Scientology, for example, you have to... There's an actual cost, like not just a social cost, like you lose all your friends and family. You have to pay money to be a Scientologist. Estimates vary from, I'm getting these numbers from Chris Shelton and other ex-Scientologists. The numbers vary from 100,000 to go clear, which is you're really high in the organization, to 400,000 to become like one of the operating Thetan levels, which is one of the highest levels you can get, between $100,000 and $400,000. The higher the cost, social, financial, otherwise, the fewer people you're going to have. But the Scientologists at the very top will be there until the day that they die. The Jehovah's Witnesses that operate in Bethel will never leave. Never. You know why? Because realizing that it was all fake means that their whole life was a waste. It was all a lie. That's the way that people see it. Every now and then you do get people who defect. Like there's a governing body member, Jehovah's Witnesses, who defected, surprisingly, Ray France. So if it was a regular religion that didn't have these high social costs, it wouldn't be a cult, and it would more easily spread to more people. Like look at, just look at Methodists. There's a low buy-in to be a Methodist. You don't have to change much about your life. You don't have to hate anybody if you don't want. All you have to do is love Jesus, basically. That's it. Just love Jesus. And Methodists are everywhere as a result. Everywhere. Another interesting phenomenon that results from this whole scenario is culture. Just regular culture in the country. We live in a culture that is predominantly Christian. Look at it another way. If you wanted to convert to Judaism here in the United States, it would require a lot of work You would have to stop eating pork and shellfish. You'd have to start praying a certain number of times a day. You'd have to observe certain holidays and not observe others. But in Israel, it's not so hard. The social cost isn't as high because there's no pork on the shelves anyway. Like, there's no bacon for sale. There's no sausage for sale. It doesn't matter. It's not a struggle to do this. So there might be a high social cost in a vacuum, but in the culture in which you exist, the social cost may not be as high. So we live in a Christian culture in the United States today. It's easier to become a Christian of any sort at all. There's a lower buy-in to be a Christian in the United States than it is in Saudi Arabia, for example. Anyway, if Jehovah's Witnesses were a regular religion and not extreme, didn't require a high buy-in to be a member, they would have significantly more people, significantly more donors and laborers and members across the spectrum. There are a lot of religions in the United States that take those things in varying degrees. So the public can be normal. There's low buy-in to just to be a normal member of this religion. But you can take it up another level. Kick it up a notch, if you will, by joining the UMC, United Methodist Conference, by joining the UMC and becoming like a delegate for your church, or becoming a pastor who like lives in the parish and stuff. There's another level of buy-in that guarantees you will never leave. That's really the best system for any social group at all. Low social buy-in to simply be a member, high social buy-in to go further.
Hey, Owen, this is Chris from Florida. I am made about 5 hours of overtime in 3 days. I'm tired, underpaid, and overworked. But you want to know something? You brighten my day every time I see a video of yours on YouTube. I search for anything that you do, and I really greatly appreciate everything. From one person to another, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
I appreciate that. I'm glad I could make somebody's day better. When I worked at like Lowe's years ago, I just waking up in the morning, the first thought that popped into my head was, oh my God, I have to go to this stupid building again and look at those stupid bricks and walk through those stupid sliding glass doors again. I would do nearly anything to not have to do that anymore. So I 100% understand how you feel about having to work your nuts off for less than you're worth. And I'm glad I could contribute in some small way to make things better. I appreciate it. I'm lucky enough now that I work constantly. It's nearly nonstop how much I work, but I enjoy my work. I like doing it. And it's not just streaming. I do a lot of streaming, but I mean, I'm editing 90% of the time. Either if I'm not editing, then I'm scripting, writing outlines, or I'm really a writer over anything else. But I enjoy the job. When you find something that you like doing, you'll never have to work another day in your life, as they say. I mean, I still have to work, and I still have to put things off that I want to do rather than this. Like, I would like to go out to the park instead of sitting here writing or something, for example. But it's much more tolerable. So I hope that you find that niche for yourself. I hope you find that thing that makes it more tolerable so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Even taking less money is worth it. If you enjoy the job, it's worth it. Anyway, thanks for the message.
Hi, Owen. This is Ezra. I'm from California. I've been watching your videos and doing some soul searching since that's my situation right now. And I just wanted to hear about your take of people saying witchcraft is this, witchcraft is that. I kind of concluded that witchcraft is kind of like a shield of ignorance. And I just wanted to know what's your take on that? Do you have any thoughts? Do you disagree? Do you agree? I just wanted to see what you would think. Hope you hear this soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by witchcraft. So the question is, as far as I can tell, is what are my thoughts on witchcraft, right? The evangelical view on witchcraft is that witches have the ability to do all kinds of things, fortune telling and divination and whatever other thing. they do, Miss Cleo style, like taking phone calls online and giving you your future or whatever, tarot card readings and all that. Christians believe that witches are capable of those things, but they get their power from Satan, which is not what witches believe. And some Christians, like Greg Locke, for example, believe that they can do all the same things witches can do, but they get their power from God rather than from Satan. Anyway, there's a group of witches, if you could call it that. Really, it's pagans, neo-pagans. It's a group of pagans out there who have like covens and everything, who believe that they're part of an unbroken line dating all the way back. But this pagan group has an origin, actually. In, I think, the 1940s or the 1950s, there's a guy that was traveling around the world and claimed to have found a group of practicing pagans who had been practicing for generations, thus forming an unbroken line for centuries. But he lied. It wasn't an unbroken line. He never found a group like that. But he founded paganism, like modern-day paganism, and wrote a whole bunch of stuff about his capabilities to do things and for how you're supposed to form out your groups and things like that. I don't believe any of it. I think it's all... You know what? I think if any of it was real, if people had the ability to read others' fortunes or change the future in some way or change the past or whatever, the military would have weaponized it a long time ago. All I need is evidence that this is real. That's it. I just need evidence. And I change my mind. I'll flip on a dime. So anyway, that's how I view it intellectually. Just person to person. I know a ton of people who are like pagans, neo-pagans and witches and things, and I have no problem with that. Great. They're a religious minority group, just like I am a religious minority group, which is non-Christian. And I came from a previous religious minority group, which is Jehovah's Witness. So I totally get it. We're in the same boat. We want the same things, to gain the right to practice our religions or not practice religion at all the way that we see fit. We want the same things. We can work together. That's the way I see it. That being said, my sister, she's all over the internet. She does podcasts and things with people that I know, smaller creators and things. Her username, I think, is 6-bit. Her name's Carrie. Anyway, she believes in things that I don't believe in. She accepts things that I don't accept. Like, I don't know if she accepts paganism as real or witchcraft. I think she did at some point. She believes in ghosts, I believe. And also, she was once an anti-vaxxer. I don't think she's an anti-vaxxer anymore, but she has questionable views about autism and things that I just disagree with completely. So you can disagree and it's fine. In fact, I like disagreeing with people. I like working things out and talking it through and, going back and forth. I like that process. I like being around people with whom I can disagree and not even argue, but just kind of battle, It's fun. Intellectually, it's fun. I love finding something that I disagree with my wife on, because we can talk about it back and forth and figure it out until one of us agrees with the other. Anyway, that's the way I see it. All right, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for the messages.